Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Game Night Date Night. Game Night Date Night is a series that is in collaboration with Games and Couples who do amazing things. So they concentrate on doing couples counseling, utilizing board game as one of the main tools to help couples connect, reconnect, or come together. And one of the things that they've done is they've created a rating system to help couples select which board game would best suit their needs at that particular time. And this rating system is actually rates every game on three different aspects. The first one is on conversation and connection potential. This rating is from 1 to 5. Keep in mind, 1 is not bad, 5 is not good. It really depends on where you are as a couple. So a game that would offer lots of opportunities to hold a conversation as you play. For Crib, for example, where you're playing cards, lots of opportunity to hold a conversation while you're playing, that would be more on the side of a 5. While a game where there's a lot going on that takes your attention and your concentration would be closer to a 1. And depending on where you are as a couple, maybe this is a time that you guys come together to connect, catch up with each other, so you're looking at a higher rating for this one. Or maybe things have been tense and things flare up easily, so you're looking at something that might be better to keep it on the lower end of the conversation. The next thing that they rate on is the getting to know you. So how much do you learn about your partner while you're playing the game, again, from 1 to 5? Sometimes games kind of have you do your own thing and you're building your own tableau and you really pay very little attention to what the other players are doing, so that would be closer to the 1. While other games where you got to kind of maybe give each other clues and kind of having an idea of how the other person think or kind of learning about that would be on the higher scale there. And the last thing that we rate on is potential for hurt feelings and conflict. Let's face it, we're playing a game, we're aiming to have a winner most of the time. And depending on how the game does that, it can have potential for, feelings to flare up or for people to get hurt. And it really kind of depends on the game. And if you're in a situation where things flare up easy, you may want to look at a game that has a lower rating in this scale. Or maybe you're looking at working on your conflict resolution. And to play a game that has higher conflict gives you an opportunity to work on that in a controlled environment. So with Games and Couples, every week we showcase a different game and give it that rating system. So in this video series, at the end of the month, we talk about all the games that have been mentioned so far for that month. And let's get started with that. So the first game that we talked about this month was Micro Macro. So for the conversation and connection potential, I'm giving this one a 5. It's all the way up there. This game plays a lot like Where's Waldo. So you open this map, and this is a huge map. It'll take your entire table. And you have all these little drawings on here, and then it's like this little town. And you'll have cards that'll tell you, okay, this is what you're looking for, and then a picture of a little doodle of a character, and you're looking around until you find, oh, there he is. And then you'll be trying to find, following the cards, like, okay, so what happened to him, or what did he lose, or different things. And there's a lot of different little scenarios that you'll go through, and each has their own little envelopes. So you'll kind of, okay, this one, and then be like, okay, well, and you kind of looking at the picture, trying to find out where was he before. Oh, he was over here. Oh, this is like, he didn't have a hat here, but he had a hat there, or depending on what the scenario is about. But you're just both, or however many player is, like, kind of on top of this big, kind of leaning on there, having conversation during that time. Definitely lots of opportunity for this. Getting to know you, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. So, because it'll ask you different questions, kind of how you kind of track or how you think, and how it's like, well, geez, I don't know, and then so that this game I find gives you some opportunity to learn a little bit more about your partner, how they think, how they deduce different things as well, or and then the conversation that you'll have based on what's happening on this map as well. Hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 1 out of 5. This is way low down there. This is a cooperative game, and basically you're just looking at the map, trying to find the picture of what you're supposed to be looking for, and then trying to find this character elsewhere on the map. Very little chance of having hurt feelings and conflict in this one. And then I've got a picture of the map here, and I don't know how well actually I can probably show you this a little bit closer. If you look into this, like, and this is fairly zoomed in from because this map is massive, and then you look into this, there's, well, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of characters on here, and then kind of looking into one, and then you'll find one that'll kind of, you'll see them again and again, and then you can kind of follow the path. And it's just a black and white map, but kind of zooming in on the details and trying to find the different things. And then this is a game that you may want to get a magnifying glass to play as well. And actually the game comes with the little one. But it's so interesting to play. And I mean, so I've heard some people say this is really not a game, it's an activity. Maybe so, but this is a fun activity. When we played it, we did a couple of scenario, and actually my son was playing with us as well, and he kept begging to do one more. Let's just do one more. And it's just such a neat and fun little activity or game to play, and I really enjoy this one. So that was macro. The next game that we talked about this month was Legendary Encounters. Legendary Encounters is a cooperative deck building game, and this is one that I absolutely love. And what's really interesting with this one is you're playing against a game, and you have like, the game, like the way you set up the game, you can set up different ways. Now, there's lots of different topics. So I have aliens, I have the James Bond 007, I have Predator, I have the Marvel one. There's also Big Trouble in Little China, and I believe there's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then there's an X-File one. There's a lot of different versions of this game, so you kind of pick what appeals to you. And the way that you play, you have your starting hand, and you'll have along the bottom, like the allies that you can recruit into your deck. And along the top there, you'll have like your villain deck. And depending on the version that you're playing, how it works, and with the Legendary Encounters, you'll have like a card that'll go along the top, like mostly with the alien ones. Now, as they move along the top, they stay face down. And you can scan that area to flip it up and see what it is. And it could be all sorts of things. It could be the alien. It could be your mission, like in the mission card that you're looking for. It could be a face hugger. And this is the thing with the alien especially. I love how thematic this game is. So if you've watched the Alien series at all, you get these egg-type alien plants that actually is an embryo, and when people get close to them, it shoots out at them, and they get an alien kind of attacking and attaching itself to their face. And while this alien is on its face, it actually impregnates you with an alien embryo, I guess. And that's the face hugger. So if you flip a face hugger, then this card comes over next to you in the deck, and you have up until your turn again to destroy this card, you or your partner. And if it's not destroyed, this face hugger will turn into a chest burster. Because in the movies, once you're impregnated with this alien, at some point it's coming out. And when it comes out, like, it rips the person open and this alien comes out. So now you have this chest burster in your discard pile, which is fine. It's in the discard pile. It's all good. But eventually you run out of your cards, you take your discard pile, you shuffle them, and then you put that, and it becomes your new draw pile, and somewhere in there there's a chest burster. And if this ever comes up into your hand and you have no way of removing it, which there's not a whole lot of options with that, there's only a few cards that will allow you to do something with that, then your character dies. So And while this is all happening, you've got this mission and you've got certain goals you need to reach, and you're trying to get and reach those 3 levels of goals to win the game before everybody's dead, basically. This game is so good. It is amazing. It is fun. So for the conversation and connection potential, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. I mean, it is a deck builder. You pick your card. You kind of see what you got. Are you going to attack? Are you going to draw, recruit some cards, and then, put that down as the next player's turn? So it gets really fun, but are some opportunity to hold a conversation as you play. In the getting to know you, I'm going to give this one again a 3 out of 5. Kind of how you handle the pressure or how you make your decision. Okay, well, for this goal, we need to spend this to be able to do that. I could do that, but now we have this alien that's going to come out into the combat zone and is going to start attacking us every round. So should we concentrate on the mission, or should we just attack the alien? Or maybe do I just recruit? Or, the decision that needs to be made in this game is interesting, and kind of watching your partner do that is interesting as well. Hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 1 out of 5, mainly because it is a cooperative game, and it's you against the game. So there's really nothing that your partner can and cannot do that would help or hinder you, really. And there's some okay, I don't know, maybe try to attack this monster and then I'll try to get the goal done next turn, or so there's a lot of conversation and communication happening that way that mitigates it's like, why did you do that? I didn't want you to do that. So it doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity for hurt feelings and conflict in this case. I mean, other than from the game, because the game will beat you up. Now let me show you some pictures. So this is a picture of the I think this is a Predator one. Which follows the movie of the Predator. And then with the Predator one, what's really interesting is you can play as the humans, you can play as a Predator, and you can actually combine that with the alien to do an Alien versus Predator version of the movie. And this one here that I have is the James Bond 007. So with these ones, there's legendary encounters and legendary. And the difference is with the legendary encounters, you get the villain cards kind of come down, and when they've reached the end, they get in the combat zone, and they keep attacking you until you destroy them. While with the legendary one, like the James Bond and the Marvel, the villain cards will go through and then they escape. And depending on how many escapes are, eventually you'll kind of lose the mission because of it. So it has that slight difference, but I'm enjoying both. So the next game that we talked this month was Cribbage, actually. Crib is a game that I grew up on. Everybody in my family plays cards, and Crib is one of them. I think everybody in my family owns multiple Crib boards. It's just something I grew up with. It's always been around. And I've seen my parents play Crib after supper. I've seen my grandparents play Crib after supper. This was just something that everybody did, and my family was the main way that couples came together at the end of the day to kind of spend some quality time together. And Crib is such a neat game. So the way that it works is you'll be dealing your deck a card, and you deal 6 to each players. And when you play Crib, you need to have a hand of 4. So you're going to look at the cards to select 4 cards to keep in your hands to play this round. You take turn being the receiver of the Crib, so you'll be 2 of them is going to go into the Crib, and depending on whose turn it is, will be getting the points that potentially could be in there. So when the Crib's coming to you, sure, put all the points you want in there, potential for points in there. That's good because they're going to be yours. When it's going to the other players, like, well, I'm not giving you a pair, I'm not giving you 50, So you kind of try to pick the cards so you keep the points, but you don't give them points either. And then with the way that the points work is anything that tallies up to 15, whether it's a face card and a 5, 15, or a 7 and an 8, which makes 15, or a 9 or a 6, or any combination. And it could be any number of cards. So any combination of cards that equals up to 15, that'll give you 2 points. Now, if you had a 10 and a 5 and a 5, well then you can do 15 here, and you would move this one and you can do 15 here. So you can change the combination of the cards to tally up as many 15 as you can. Now you're also going to score on pairs or 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind, and you're also going to score on runs of 3 or 4 as well. It's such a neat game. So you kind of decide, okay, I'm keeping these 4 cards, I'm putting these 2 in the crib, and then the other player that wasn't the one that dealt will cut the rest of the card, and you pick the top card, flip it over, and now this one is going to be part of your hand for the game as well. And it's part of your hand, it's part of their hand, it's going to be part of the crib. And then you go and play the game, so you play 1 card at a time, they play 1 card, and as you're playing these cards, you're tallying up where you're coming to, because if you get 15, you're going to score that. If you get a pair, you're going to score that on what's being played on the table. So you have the opportunity to score based on what they're playing and what you're playing as well. Up to 31. Once you reach 31, that ends that round, and you keep playing until all the cards have been played. If you reach exactly 31, that gives you 2 points. If you're the last person who's able to play a card before you kind of restart, then that gives you 1 point. And all these points are kept where you peg them onto the board. It's so fun. It's a neat game. This is one that's just been around for forever. So let's look at the rating on this one. So for conversation and connection potential, 4 out of 5. You're playing cards, like it's you know, like, and then everything that's happening is in your head. So maybe you're like, okay, you play this, and then you can have a whole conversation while playing this game, because there's very little to do. So you're just kind of keeping track of where you are in points. It's like, okay, oh, you played a 7, well then I'm going to play an 8, score 2 points for 15. So 15, your turn. Oh, you're playing a 10, so now we're at 25. Okay, well then I'm going to play a 6, and now it's 31, so score another 2 points because we've reached 31. And like, you know, so it's a simple game, so lots of opportunities to hold a conversation. And then getting to know you, I'll give this one a 3 out of 5. It's interesting to see like how they play, how they decide which card they're going to put down, and kind of how they feel if they get, you know, if they're like, you keep scoring on them and that sort of stuff. But so there is some opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about your partner on how they pick what they're going to play or what they're going to keep in their hands. But it's not one that's super revealing either, so that's why I put it right in the middle. For hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 2 out of 5. So you're playing the cards, you know, it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing to really get upset about until you get skunked. Now, with this one, because you play it to first play to reach 121 points is the winner. So you'll do multiple hands until you reach that. Now, if you are more than 30 points behind when one player wins, that's called being skunked. And if you're 60 point behind, that's called being double skunked. And I mean, and that's kind of like sucks. Like, well, not only did you lose, but you really lose, so you're skunked. And then it's, you know, you tend to rub it in a little bit. It's like, oh my God, did you smell that? That was, hey, did you get skunked? You know, so, I mean, it's all in jest and it's all in good fun, but it could flare something up, right? And Crib actually is, I used to hold a annual Crib tournament at the local community hall. And I was actually, one time I attended a bigger tournament, not one that I was hosting, and then ended up winning, and me and my teammate won $200 a gift card for that, so it was neat. So yeah, that one's Crib. If you haven't played Crib, I highly recommend you give it a try. Now the next game we talked about is Cascadia. Cascadia is really neat, actually. It's a tile laying game and a token placing game as well. But it's like you're doing 2 puzzles at once. So with the tiles that you're putting down, you have all these different terrain, and you're going to score the largest terrain for each type of terrain that is available. So you're trying to place these tiles in a way that you're creating the biggest cluster that you can. Plus, if your cluster is bigger than everybody else, then you get a bonus for that as well. So you're trying to place the tiles to create this cluster. Now on the tiles, there's also little symbols of different animals that can go on it. It could be 1 animal, it could be 2, could be 3, and those are the only animals that can go on there, and that's where the token comes in. The tokens are the animals that can be placed on this terrain that you're building. And at the start of the game, each animal has a card that's flipped over, and there's multiple to pick from. So you just kind of randomly pick one, so the game is a little bit different every time. And then you'll flip one for the bear, one for the fox, one's for the eagle, and so on. And this tells you how you can score those animals. So it could be that the bear scores for, if you get 1, 2, 3, 4 bears together. The fox could be that you score for every pairs of other animals that is surrounding them. The fish might be like for the longest line of the salmon that you do. So there's different condition on how they got to be placed for how they're going to score at the end of the game. So on your turn, you're going to draw. You have 4 tiles and 4 tokens, and you got to take the tile and token that is associated with each other. So you kind of pick which one you want to draft. You place your tile down to create your terrain, and then you place the token somewhere on there, and you kind of keep going until you run out of tiles, and then you would score your board. Now if there's some spaces that have just the one animal, and if you play that tile and you put the one animal, you get a pine cone token, and those pine cones are worth points at the end of the game, or you can spend them to separate the tile and the token that you want to place. So instead of taking the ones that are put together, you can kind of spread out to get, it's like, well, I really need the trees because the tree has that symbol, and I need to have a space to put another salmon, but it's attached to a bear, and I don't want a bear, I want the salmon. So I'm going to go ahead, take this salmon, so it allows you to mix and match a little bit, but then you're spending the pine cones, which could become potential points as well. So you're kind of giving that up. But it's really neat. It's very simple. It's very straightforward, but it has that fun puzzly aspect to it. So let's look at the ratings. So for conversation and connection potential, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. It's fairly simple. You place it down, so tons of opportunity to hold a conversation while playing this game. In the getting to know you, I'm giving this one a 2 out of 5. Honestly, I get so into building my own thing that I pay almost no attention to what the other players are doing. And then kind of once you look up, it's like, oh, you guys did good too, huh? Oh my gee, I hope I got enough points. But so it's kind of like solo. You're kind of concentrating more on what you're doing. You kind of look at what they're picking. And honestly, it's just like, okay, don't take the eagle, don't take the eagle. And you're like, oh good, they didn't take the eagle, so you get to pick. But yeah. And then hurt and feelings and conflict, again, I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5. You're building your own thing. There's very little potential for hurt feelings and conflict unless they go ahead and do take the eagle, right? So there could be that bit of frustration sometime. This is a picture of the game, so you can see the tile and the tokens are kind of put in a row there. Normally there'd be 4 of them. Excuse me. And then you got what you're building, and you got the cards on how you're going to score, and then those score pads. So that was this for this month. If you want to follow us on Instagram, I am boardgame_mama, and there's also Games and Couples on Instagram. On Facebook, my Facebook page is Board Game Mama, and friends are playing all the games. And be sure to check out Games and Couples, Love in the Age of Board Games also. And then on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Board Game Mama and Games and Couples, Love in the Age of Board Game. So be sure to tune in next month to find out all the other games we'll be talking about this coming month. Bye, everybody.